let's get caught up on Jack Smith down at that Mar-a-Lago documents case with Judge Cannon. Jack Smith is throwing a tantrum over instructions she gave to the jury. Anytime he's throwing a tantrum, it's good news. Anytime he says it's unfair or unprecedented or bad, but he is starting to cut off the gloves and just go after her and full on threaten her. This is going to keep getting more and more dramatic. All of these Trump cases, as we get closer to the election, it's like it ratchets everything up. Well, welcome to Doug in Exile. I'm Doug TenNapel. I'm the creator of Earthworm Jim, The Neverhood, Nickelodeon's Cat Scratch, and now I do the news. So let's go to the Hill and let's move me over here so I can I got to fit in my shorts. Jack Smith airs frustration with Cannon's embrace of fundamentally flawed instructions. Special counsel Jack Smith aired frustration at U.S. District Court. Judge Aileen Cannon, Trump appointment, arguing that a legal theory from former President Trump that the classified documents recovered from his Florida home were his personal property rests on a, quote, fundamentally flawed legal premise. That's what he claims. The filing Tuesday night, last night, comes as Cannon has asked both sides to propose jury instructions that would take into account Trump's view of the Presidential Records Act, which dictates how records created during a president's term must be handled and later achieved. The law does allow for some records to be considered personal property of the president, but legal experts have rebuffed President Trump's argument that more than 300 highly classified records recovered from his property could in any way be considered personal. So that's what the bad guys are saying. They're going, this can't be personal, guy. This is like national secrets. And Trump could be like, hey, it was a personal letter from, President G or something. Smith's team argued that accepting Trump's theory, quote, would distort the trial. Uh-oh, Smith's mad. The Presidential Records Act distinction between personal and presidential records has no bearing on whether a former president's possession of documents containing national defense information is authorized under the Espionage Act. And the PRA should play no role in the jury instructions the prosecutors wrote. Trump is largely being prosecuted under the Espionage Act, which prohibits the willful retention of national defense information when you're not Joe Biden. He also charged with obstruction of justice for seeking to conceal the records from authorities after they demanded their return. By the way, that last sentence might be the only thing Trump is guilty of, and I don't, big deal. It says he is charged with obstruction of justice for seeking to conceal the records from authorities. They demanded their return, and Trump just said, nope. And that's why he got busted. This isn't treason. Compared to what Biden did, this isn't treason. Compared to what Obama did, this is not treason. Legal observers were baffled by Cannon's recent instructions, asking both sides to weigh two scenarios that largely embrace Trump's view of the Presidential Records Act, despite having failed to consider an earlier motion from him seeking to toss the case on those grounds. See, the problem is, Judge Aileen Cannon's treating this as like a normal case. They consider her slow, but really she's normal. And she's going, I'm not going to get whipped up into a panic just because you guys have a political agenda with this election. I'm a judge. Too bad. The indecision on the matter and numerous other motions have created a backlog of issues in the case, including Cannon's consideration of a new trial date. So see, they're angry that it's getting more complicated and she has things to think about. It. She's doing normal order. They want her just to panic to the conclusion they want, which is get Trump. That's their conclusion, everything. That's Jack Smith, who's supposed to be serving the people and serving justice. He has one agenda, get Trump. Quote, it is purely a question of law that must be decided promptly. If the court were to defer a decision on that fundamental legal question, it would inject substantial delay in the trial. Prosecutors wrote of Cannon's need to rule on the underlying PRA motion before leapfrogging to jury instructions based on the matter. Okay, so here's where they're stepping up their attacks on Judge Aileen Cannon. It's unusual for prosecutors to be so direct in countering a judge's directions, like they're rebelling from her. But numerous lines in the filing suggest impatience with the slow pace of the proceedings. Now, see, they have the confidence of the U.S. government and the White House and the Department of Justice on their side. I think they're threatening Aileen Cannon. They're like, listen, it'd be a shame if you ended up in prison. By the way, that's what happens when people perform actual fair acts. The Department of Justice comes after them, hunts American citizens and judges. At another point in the filing, Smith called it, quote, vitally important that Cannon promptly decide the matter, noting their ability to pursue a future appeal of erroneous jury instructions. See, this is the pressure Jack Smith's putting on her. It's so obvious this is politically motivated. This is election oriented. There's no reason for this to be sped up. And he just wants to get it done before the election because he wants to influence the election. He doesn't care about justice. So now you're up to speed on what happened with Judge Aileen Cannon and Jack Smith. To me, the big news is that Jack Smith is starting to be, the prosecution is being more and more vocal, being a little more bossy with her, pushing on that deadline. Let's go, let's go, let's go. And they're not giving her her own legal jurisdiction as a judge to act as she sees fit with this case. They're the ones politicizing it by trying to speed it up. She is not the one politicizing it by slowing it down. She's addressing all of these things as they come in and treating them as normal. So she's normal. Jack Smith and the prosecution are Department of Justice, Biden apparatchiks with an assignment to speed this thing up and get Trump before the election. I'm a barely literate comic book artist, and even I know that. I'm Doug in Exile.